Good afternoon. I'm Charles Gibson at ABC News headquarters in New York. There is an airplane down in the Hudson River right off Manhattan.
The temperatures in New York City are absolutely frigid.
Since the moment we learned everybody on board was safe, the crew members of U.S. Airways Flight 1549 have been hailed as heroes.
Our next guests were also vitally instrumental in saving the lives of all 155 people on board. Please welcome three more heroes, the flight attendants from U.S. Airways Flight 1549, Doreen Welsh, Donna Dent, and Sheila Dale. Kids, come on out.
In our theme of Soaring to New Heights, it's my pleasure to introduce Doreen Welsh. You'll know Doreen from Flight 1549, or as we mostly all know it, Miracle on the Hudson. Would you help me in welcoming Doreen Welsh?
Thank you, Jeff. Hi, it's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. First, I would like to let everyone know that I'm not a professional speaker. I am just someone with an incredible story to tell. He said, well, I have great news. Do you want to hear it now, or do you want to wait till you come home? Well, you know, now you have great news. Tell me. Yeah. So he said, okay. He said his dad had sent him 2 tickets for the AFC Championship game, this was Thursday, which was going to be on Sunday. I was so excited. I said, oh, my heavens. I said, yes. I said, and thank you for asking me instead of your friends. And I was just beside myself. And I looked up, and the people were starting to come down the aisle. I said, honey, I said, I have to go. The passengers are coming. I said, I'll see you tonight. I love you. The most important I love you I've ever said in my life.
But I'd like to start with you, Doreen, and if you could just tell me what it was like being back there and knowing what you had to tell all of the passengers about what was happening.
Well, no one really knew. I mean, I've been flying long enough to know that something definitely happened, but I assumed that an engine went out and we were circling back to go back to LaGuardia and land, which, you know, we've all been through a million times. Not a million, but a lot. A common, not uncommon for a flight crew. And that's what I assumed, and I got up just to calm some people down and check things out because there was a smell from the birds, and then heard the brace for impact.
So I'm, you know, getting this in, snap, and just as I tightened it, I heard the words over that PA system that I had trained for 38 years, that I never thought I'd hear, that I didn't think ever really happened. But I heard those 3 words, brace for impact. I can't, to this day, I've tried to put into words what I felt. I can't. There are no words. Terror doesn't even begin to describe it. It rippled through my body in a moment of, I mean, I know what that means. There's nothing else. That does not mean maybe or just in case. You're crashing. Period. The end. You're going down. It was 90 seconds from brace for impact to impact. Now, as a flight attendant, at this point, I'm supposed to start yelling, brace, brace, heads down, stay down. I didn't initially. I didn't want to do it at all. I had 90 seconds. I didn't want to waste it on that. That's how I was feeling. I was frozen for a few seconds, absolutely frozen. I'm watching the people, and this is something I didn't think about during those 90 seconds, but bothered me tremendously afterwards. Everybody, Jeff and Sully, had each other in the cockpit. They said they didn't get eye contact. I know they had to for a second. Any 2 humans you're going to do a glance. The 2 girls in front, I know they were holding hands and they got eye contact. I sat back there alone and I watched everyone holding hands, people texting, calling their calling people, and I saw all the heads turning and everything. I was alone. I thought, I'm going to die without even having a pair of eyes to look into for a second. But while I'm thinking this, I hear this, brace, brace, heads down, stay down. It was me. So, to U.S. Air Training Department, it works.
But brace for impact is something you've trained for. You know what that means. And so then what do? You start screaming, brace, brace, brace. Is that what happens? Yeah. And did the passengers know how to respond to that?
Mine did, which was, you know, I had the rowdy group earlier, but they did know how to respond.
Right.
Because they were all in there. So somebody read their card or did something.
What is it about... Boy, and people will be reading that in the event of a water landing card now, like it's the Old Testament, won't they? But what is it about your group? I'm getting the sense that you had the problem kids back there. What?
Well, the back of the airplane was always more active and fun. I don't know. They got on first. They were resting. You know how? Remember years ago, whenever the smoking section was back there, they put those little signs. Front half was quiet, and everybody else was having drinks and cigarettes. They were all crazy. It's still like that without the smoking.
Well, that's great.
Let's talk about the moment of impact. Doreen, you were sitting in the back of the plane. What was the impact like there?
The back of the plane hit first, correct? It was violent. Horrible. Things flew out.
It took me forever to get out of my seatbelt, and I didn't know why until later, was because on impact, right in front of my jump seat, a steel beam, an angle iron came up through the floor and went all the way through my leg. I had no idea, never felt it. If that happened to any of us now, I'm sure you'd pass out from the pain. No idea, and I am so grateful that I did not look down and see that, because I'm sure that would have been a different outcome. It took me a while, in slow motion, got out of that seatbelt. I made it to the door, and we are taught it's just a porthole. It's not a big view. You have to actually get in and look, and we're taught to assess with the back of our hands, feel and heat. I looked out. I would have liked a look on my face then. I saw that water, and my emotion went again from the hope just drained right out of me. I thought, what is this? Now we're in the water. Now, in training for 38 years, we've been taught in a ditching, you evacuate from the rear of the aircraft. That's because you always crash like this, and the rear is supposed to be up. I was in the only crash in history that went back first, but I didn't know, and I could not tell for the longest time where that water level was, because it had hit so hard, it was like the ocean. It was waves out there.
In the back of the cabin, one woman ran up and opened the back door.
So she came flying, pushed me past me, and just started grabbing at that door crazy. She said, open the door, open the door. I had no idea we were in water, so I was, whoa, shock, the biggest shock I've ever had in my life, I think. By the time I left there, my entire uniform was wet.
And when you finally headed up, were you walking or swimming?
You know, there's a few minutes there where I don't know.
Finally, the water is now, I mean, it was so fast. It's overtaking me, and I thought, this is it. This is absolutely it. I mean, I had there's nowhere to go. There was a small path opening, but I had a person here, a person here. I mean, I don't know how many, because it was crazy. And I could have, at that point, probably knocked them over and got myself out. And through my head, we are taught in training that you stay as long as possible. But if your life is in danger, then you can go. But I saw these people. I would have had to actually push by them to save myself, because they were frozen in fear, and they were, and during this quick thought process, the water's now here. And I thought, that's it. I've accepted death. I prayed to God to take care of my son. I saw his face. It was a feeling I can't even tell you.
We invited some of the passengers to reunite with them in Charlotte, North Carolina, the city that was supposed to be the final destination for Flight 1549.
He said, my son was one of the people in the back, one of the last people that you got out of there. And he said, I've watched all of this with you and your son and him on shows, and I know you understand. He said, I needed to see you in person and shake your hand or possibly give you a hug. He said, you saved my son's life. He said, what can I say to you? And we fell into each other's arms, and I said, you're very, very welcome. And I hugged his son. The three of us kind of had a group hug. But that moment, I realized I did the right thing by staying back. So if I have some water dreams, I have some water dreams and some nightmares, but he has his son. Thank you very much.